You know that feeling when you've said too much, when you're lying in bed at night, replaying a conversation and thinking, why did I tell her that? Why did I explain myself so hard? Why did I turn something simple into a confessions booth? Yeah, that feeling. It's your instinct trying to tell you something important. You gave away too much. Not lies, not secrets, just pieces of yourself that didn't need to be handed over. And now something's shifted. She's looking at you differently. Not with more love, with less mystery. And mystery, whether we want to admit it or not, is half of what keeps the fire alive. Look, this isn't some manipulative game. It's actually the opposite. It's about protecting something real inside you. Because here's what nobody warns you about. The more you explain yourself, the less interesting you become. The more you confess, the more predictable you are. And predictable doesn't make her heart race. It makes her comfortable, then bored, then looking around. There's this thing that happens in the beginning. You meet someone and there's this spark, this electricity, because she doesn't know everything about you yet. You're still a story she's reading, still a puzzle she's putting together. And that process, that discovery, that's where attraction lives. But most guys, the second they feel a connection, they panic. They think, I need to show her all of me right now so she knows I'm real. So they unload, they overshare, they turn every date into a therapy session. And just like that, the mystery dies. The book's finished, and she's already looking for a new one to read. So, let me walk you through something. 5 things you keep to yourself, not forever, not out of fear, but because some things are meant to stay yours. Because a man who knows how to hold space for himself is a man worth staying curious about. And curiosity is what keeps her coming back. And listen, if you're someone who actually wants the truth instead of just something that sounds nice, if you're serious about building a life that makes sense instead of just chasing feelings, then go ahead and subscribe. This isn't about collecting followers. It's about building a circle of people who think deeper, move smarter, and refuse to live on autopilot. If that's you, you're in the right place. If not, no hard feelings, but we're going somewhere specific here, and it's not for everyone. All right, first thing, you never share your entire romantic history. She's going to ask, maybe not the first week, maybe not the first month, but at some point she's going to look at you with that soft, curious face and say something like, so, tell me about your ex. Or, how many people have you been with? And this is where most men completely sabotage themselves. They think honesty means full disclosure. So they sit there and walk her through the entire timeline. Names, faces, how long it lasted, why it ended, who hurt who. They think they're being open, building trust, showing her they have nothing to hide. But here's what's actually happening. Every story you tell becomes a comparison. Every woman you mention becomes a ghost that now lives in her head. She's not listening to bond with you. She's listening to figure out where she ranks. Was that girl prettier, funnier? Did you love her more? And even if you say all the right things, even if you swear she's different, the damage is done. You've given her a scorecard she didn't ask for. And now, every time you argue, every time you're distant, every time she feels insecure, she's going to pull one of those names back out and wonder if you're thinking about them. You don't owe anyone your history just because they're curious. Your past isn't public record. It's yours. And when she asks, you stay calm, you stay brief, you stay kind. I've had relationships, I learned a lot, but I'm here with you now, and that's what matters. That's it. Novel, no director's cut, no behind the scenes bonus footage, because every extra detail you add is just ammunition for a fight you don't even know is coming yet. And here's the thing that's hard to accept. She doesn't actually want the whole truth. She wants to feel special. She wants to believe that what you have with her is different than anything that came before. But if you spend an hour telling her about everyone else, she's not feeling special. She's feeling like another name on a list, and nobody wants to be a sequel. This isn't about lying. It's about understanding that some questions don't need full answers. Some doors don't need to be opened because once you open them, you can't close them again. And the version of you that lives in her imagination is always going to be more attractive than the version that's been fully explained. Second thing, the depth of your insecurity. Every guy doubts himself, every single one. You look in the mirror some days and think, am I enough? Am I doing this right? Do I even know what I'm doing? That's normal. That's human. But the second you turn to her and say those things out loud, something shifts. You're not being vulnerable anymore. You're handing her a job, the job of reassuring you, the job of holding you up emotionally. And that's not what she signed up for. She didn't fall for you because you needed fixing. She fell for you because you seemed like you had it together. Not perfect, not fearless, but steady, like you could handle yourself. And the moment you start unloading every fear and insecurity onto her, you stop being her partner. You become her project. And nobody stays attracted to their project. They stay obligated. And obligation kills desire faster than anything. There's a difference between being vulnerable and being needy. Vulnerability is saying, I'm working through something tough right now, but I've got it. Needy is saying, tell me I'm good enough. Tell me you're not going to leave. Tell me I'm doing okay. One is strength. The other is a cry for help. And you can't be her man and her child at the same time. The roles don't work together. So where do you take that doubt? To a therapist, to a mentor, to a journal, to a brother who's been through it and knows how to talk you off the ledge, but not to her. Because every time you collapse in front of her, you're asking her to be your mother. And once she starts seeing you that way, the attraction is over. You can't kiss someone goodnight and then ask them to tuck you in. It doesn't work. And I'm not saying hide everything. I'm not saying pretend you're made of stone. I'm saying process your chaos before you walk through the door. Show her the version of you that's done the work. That's face the fear and come out the other side. She can tell when you're struggling, but she respects you way more when you struggle quietly and show up strong than when you fall apart in front of her and expect applause for being honest. Third thing, how much you've sacrificed for her. You changed your schedule. You turned down that trip with your boys. You spent money you probably shouldn't have. You skipped the gym for a month because you wanted to spend more time with her. And now part of you wants credit. Part of you wants her to know how much you've rearranged your life. So one night, maybe during an argument, maybe just in passing, you say it, I gave up a lot for you. Or I haven't seen my friends in weeks because of us. Or I'm broke because I've been taking you out. And just like that, you've turned love into a transaction. Because the second you announce your sacrifice, it stops being love and starts being a debt. And she didn't ask you to sacrifice. You chose it. You decided to prioritize her. And that was beautiful when it was silent. But the moment you say it out loud, you've made it her problem. Now she feels guilty. And guilt doesn't make someone love you more. It makes them pull away. A strong man sacrifices without keeping score. He does it because he wants to, because it aligns with who he is and what he values. He doesn't need a parade. He doesn't need a thank you speech. He doesn't need her to know how hard it was. He just moves. And that's what she respects. The man who shows up consistently without waving a flag every time he does something decent. You want her to appreciate you? Stop narrating your effort. Stop making a highlight reel of everything you've done. Just be solid, be consistent. That's the real flex, not the announcement of it. And if you're sacrificing so much that you feel the need to tell her about it, that's a sign you're giving from the wrong place. You're giving from emptiness, not abundance. And that's not sustainable. Real sacrifice is quiet. It's the decision you make at 5 a.m. when no one's watching. It's the discipline you maintain when she's not around. It's the growth you pursue so that when she looks at you, she sees progress, not performance. Fourth thing, your backup plans. You're with her. You care about her, but you're not naive. You've been around long enough to know that people change. Relationships end, feelings fade, and no matter how good things are right now, there's always a chance it doesn't last. So you stay prepared, you maintain your friendships, you keep your network active, you don't delete every woman's number from your phone just because you're in a relationship. You stay socially valuable, and you definitely don't tell her any of this because the moment she knows you've got contingency plans, she starts building her own. It's not about trust, it's about human nature. The person who cares less has the power, and if she realizes you're not fully dependent on this relationship, that you'd be fine if it ended, something in her shifts. She starts wondering if you're really Alan. And women, they think in binary. When it comes to commitment, you're either fully invested or you're halfway out the door. There's no in between in her mind. Now, I'm not saying cheat. I'm not saying keep dating other people. I'm saying don't make her your entire world. Because a man who would collapse without a woman is not a man she wants. She wants the guy who would survive, who would keep going, not because he doesn't love her, but because he's complete with or without her. That's attractive. Dependency is not. So yeah, have backup plans, financial plans, career plans, social plans, a life that doesn't crumble if she walks away, but keep that to yourself. Let her experience your presence, let her feel your love, but never let her think she's your only option for happiness, because the second she does, the dynamic flips and not in your favor. Fifth thing, the full extent of your ambition. You've got dreams, real ones, the kind that require years of sacrifice, late nights, missed dings, and a level of focus that's going to take you away from her sometimes. And if you sit her down and explain the whole vision, the whole 10-year plan, one of two things happens. She either feels threatened by it or she tries to manage it. And both are bad. Most women say they want an ambitious man, and they mean it until that ambition requires them to take a back seat. Until it means you're working weekends. Until it means you're mentally somewhere else, even when you're physically next to her. Then ambition becomes the other woman, and she can't compete with it. So instead, she'll try to shrink it. You're always working. You care more about that than us. We never spend time together anymore. It's not malicious. It's just biology. She wants connection. Your purpose threatens that. So instead of laying out the entire blueprint, you share pieces. You let her see the progress, but you don't let her see the cost, because the cost includes nights you'll choose your mission over her mood. Times you'll go silent because you're locked into something. And if she knows that up front, she'll resist it. But if it's just the reality she adapts to, she'll respect it. Ambition is sexy in theory, exhausting in practice. She loves the idea of the man who's going somewhere. She doesn't always love the man who's actually going, because going requires absence. And absence feels like neglect if she's not secure in herself. So you manage it. When you're with her, you're present fully. But when you're working, you're ruthless, and you don't apologize for it. You don't explain it away. You just live it. And the right woman will either get on board or get out of the way. Either way, you keep building. Now picture the guy who actually lives this. He's not cold. He's not some emotionless robot. He's just centered. When he walks into a room, there's a calm about him. When she asks him something, he answers without over-explaining. When she tests him, and trust me, she will, he doesn't react. He doesn't scramble to prove himself. He just exists in his own frame. And that steadiness is magnetic. He's got structure to his day. He works out. He reads. He has projects that don't require her approval. And because he's not desperate for her attention, she gives it freely. She texts first. She initiates plans. She works around his schedule. Not because he's playing games, but because he's genuinely busy building something that matters to him. When they're together, he's Alan, phones away, eye contact, present. But when they're apart, he's not blowing up her phone. He's not checking in every hour for validation. He's living his life. And that balance, that ability to be fully there and fully independent, that's what keeps her hooked, because she's never completely sure she has all of him. And that slight uncertainty keeps the attraction alive. He doesn't argue for hours. He doesn't chase her when she pulls away. He doesn't explain himself to death. If she's upset, he listens. If she's being unreasonable, he walks away, not to punish her, but to protect his own peace. And she learns fast that emotional games don't work on him. Guilt trips bounce off. Tears don't manipulate. Not because he's heartless, because he's not reactive. He responds. He doesn't react. And there's a world of difference. He knows what he wants, not just from the relationship, from life, and he's not asking her permission to go after it. He's inviting her to come along. But if she doesn't, the train still leaves. That's the energy. That's what separates him from every other guy she's dated who bent himself into shapes trying to make her happy. So, how do you become this version of yourself? You start by auditing what you share. Not because you're turning into some secretive weirdo, but because you're becoming intentional. Every time you feel the urge to explain, to confess, to justify yourself, pause. Ask yourself, am I saying this because it helps or because I need approval? Most of the time, it's the second one. And approval seeking is the fastest way to lose respect. Stop giving her a play-by-play of your entire day. Stop narrating every struggle. Stop offering up your insecurities like they're proof you're human. She doesn't need the raw footage. She needs the final cut. The version of you that's done the work and shows up solid. Rebuild your independence. If your mood depends entirely on hers, you've already lost. Get your purpose back. Get your hobbies back. Reconnect with your friends, not to make her jealous. but to make yourself whole. Because a whole man doesn't need a woman to complete him. He wants her around, and want is attractive. Need is suffocating. Stop keeping score. Stop tracking everything you've done for her. Stop waiting for her to match your effort. Give because you choose to or don't give at all. But once you give, let it go. No ledger, no silent resentment, no passive-aggressive comments later. That's how you stay free and protect your ambition like your life depends on it. Because honestly, it does. Your purpose isn't up for negotiation. Your mission isn't a group project. Share the wins with her. Share the progress. But keep the doubts, the failures, the moments you want to quit. Keep those to yourself. Process them privately. Come back stronger. That's what she needs to see, not the struggle, the result. You're not hiding who you are. You're just being selective about what you share. And that's not dishonest, that's wise, because the version of you that overshares, that needs constant validation, that turns every moment into an emotional deep dive, that's not your best self. That's your anxious self. And your anxious self doesn't build anything lasting. The man you're becoming is different. He's intentional. He's measured. He doesn't perform his depth. He just has it. And that quiet confidence, that refusal to shrink or apologize for taking up space, that changes everything. This is bigger than just relationships. This is about who you are. It's about understanding that you don't owe everyone access to your inner world just because they ask nicely. You decide what gets shared. You control the narrative. And that boundary, that ability to hold space for yourself is what separates men from boys. So if you're done explaining yourself into irrelevance, if you're ready to build a version of your life where your actions matter more than your words, if you want to become the kind of man who doesn't need constant validation because he's too busy becoming undeniable, then subscribe. This is where the real work happens. Not motivation, clarity, not hype, discipline. That's the difference. And if you can feel it, you're already ahead. You don't need to announce yourself. You just need to show up every single day, consistent, focused, unapologetic. That's the standard. And once you lock into that, everything else starts to fall into place. The respect comes, the attraction stays, and the woman who's actually worth your time, she feels the difference. She knows she's with someone real, not perfect, just solid. And solid is rare these days. Now go be that.